Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let me say thank you for giving me time to presenting my research under the title Identification of Students' Difficulties in Understanding of Vector Concepts Using TUV. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Rizkia Latifa and my co-author is Endang Purwaningsih. We are from Physics Education Department, Universitas Negeri Malang. So then, let's start the presentation. Okay, we're beginning from background. Learning vector concepts at the beginning of school is very important for students. Why? Because many physical quantities are defined as vectors. For example, velocity, acceleration, force. But however, in school today, many of students feels like vector concepts is not important at all and even very difficult to understand. And there have been many studies related to the vector concepts and TUV, like the researchers before research about these uh, difficulties, misconceptions, even the difficulties, even the relationship between these difficulties and misconception. However, those research only focus to find out students' difficulties, but not to find out more deeply why these students find it difficult to do these vector concepts. So this investigation focused to find out the students' difficulties and analyzing the most difficult vector concepts according to student answer. Um, by interviewing several students to find out the reason for choosing each possible answer. Next, we move to method. This study used embedded approach research design with quantitative descriptive methods. Quantitative data used CUV and qualitative data used student interview. The research data collection used random sampling technique, and the number of research sample was 142 students. And sample in the study was selected with two following criteria. The first one is students who are in accredited A school, and the second one is students with an average age of 15 to 17 years old, and also have studied vector concepts. This research instrument is 20 items, multiple choice EUV, test of understanding of vector. So we move to result and discussion. Uh, I made this three part. The first one is students overscore. We see that in table 4 is statistical description. In this table, statistical description, we know the average score of every class is under 30. Nah, this is under 30 for all the average score. And we use this table categories of students' conceptual understanding. So we found that average score under 40 or maybe under 30. So this is categorized less or even very less level. Next, for student score or on each indicator, we use this figure. This is for indicators 1 to 10. In this figure, we know that indicator 1 is the most right answer that used by students. But the percentage of this indicator is lower or under the 30%. Still in the category less conceptual understanding. Then all the questions must be in the high difficulty level for all the students. So we have to say that the student have less conceptual understanding. And then we know in this picture, like for indicator 4, we know that the percentage is very less, 4.46, and the second one is indicator X. So we have to analyze why students very less unknown the conceptual of these vector concepts. We move to most students' mistakes. The first one is indicator 4. Indicator 4 is about unit vector, which refers to the graphic representation of a unit vectors. This item is included in the category of questions with a high level of difficulty. The distribution of answer and the reason for students choosing the option provided in this question can be seen in table 5. You can see in this all of these options, the right answer is option C. But the student most choose is option E. Why? Because the factor shown in the same as the figure of questions. And the second one is B, the direction are same, and each component of vector is 1. Okay, because of that, we conclude that some of the reasons that have been explained by students regarding the reasons for choosing the wrong option show evidence that students still do not really understand what is meant by the unit vector. And students still find it difficult to distinguish between a unit vector in the direction of a vector and two vector components written in unit vector notations. They tend to think that this vector has a magnitude of 1. It was identified that there are misconceptions in determining the value in unit vectors and all value components on the x and y axis. And next, we have to discuss indicator 8. This indicator is about graphic representation of a vector multiplied by a negative scalar. Students are asked to multiply a negative scalar by a vector, where the distribution of student data who answered the question is presented in table 6, this table. In this case, the right option is C, but this is the less chosen by students. Why? Because this argument, they said that vector A moves its position on the y-axis at the point -3. Why they choose the wrong answer? In this case, they assume that when multiplied by a negative scalar, the vector that was originally in quadrant 1 or positive will move to quadrant 2 or negative. This assumption is influenced by their mathematical knowledge. They also have difficulty in interpreting a scalar multiplication function with a value of 3 with a vector in the form of an existing image. So, after we conclude the most student mistake in indicator 4 and 8, we have to say that many of students' error could perhaps be traced to a single major misunderstanding. They had serious conceptual confusion related to basic vector concepts represented in graphical form. This is misunderstanding of the way vectors depicted in the graphical form. So the students still don't understand about graphical form in vector concepts. It is very lacking of knowledge. So we have a conclusion that CUV is an instrument that can be used to identify the difficulties experienced by students for vector concepts. From the data that has been obtained, it can be concluded that students' ability to understand vector concepts is still lacking because of many factors. We received information that one of the main causes was the difficulties of students in representing vectors in graphic form, so that the advice that can be given by researchers is teachers should focus on graphic representation in vector concepts. For further researches, it is better to conduct a study related to what kind of learning system can support and reduce the difficulties faced by students in learning vector concepts. Okay, that's all our research. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.